a lot, brother. And the sister, I'm sorry because I don't know you all's name, so forgive me for that. But
of introductions real quick. But to add to that, like in Connecticut right now, like I live in Danbury, so it's by townships. So the towns can put a moratorium. Right now, my town has a 1 year moratorium that they don't want no licensing being given to this town for a whole year. So right now they're opening the application process at the end of this month, and I can even apply for a license because we have a year moratorium that I cannot apply for a whole year because of the town that I'm in. So it's a lot of bullshit that's happening, and this is like equity that all these advocates are talking about. We passed an equitable bill, but what does the regulations look like? Because at the end of the day, you can have an equitable bill. Chicago took a lot from the MRTA, and it was an equitable bill. That's why they talk when Illinois passed. They say that was one of the most equitable bills that have passed. But what happened to Chicago? The same thing that's happened.
Litigation.
In Connecticut, they have right now in Connecticut, the indigenous people, they have a compact deal, right? But they excluded another tribal nation because they're not federal recognized. The Eastern Pequot Nation, they excluded them from the compact agreement that they had with the nations here, and they cannot cultivate because they have to go through all the hooplas that a person like me, that is not in a tribal nation, that they deserve to grow this plant.
So we all do, but yeah.
But let's do like a round of introductions. So
yeah, let's do that.
That'll be
ladies
dope.
first. Ladies first.
So hey y'all, I'm Anna Rose. I run True Social Equity in Cannabis. I was an applicant a year and a half-ish ago with my wife and 3 other women from the South Side, and I was really angry and needed a place to channel my anger when all of the stuff went down this last year. So check out True Social Equity from the top to bottom, and you'll see the story of Illinois social equity. We really need true social equity.
Hola, I'm Pilar de Jesus. They call me Pilar la Problema. I've added con la solución. Translation, Pilar the problem, but I've added with the solution. And I actually got that name from my community board during the time when they were rezoning my community to gentrify us with all these new buildings and stuff. And I just like march in with a whole bunch of tenants and shut the meeting down. But I wear a lot of different hats in my state and in my community. But in the cannabis space, I'm slowly transitioning out of the worker co-op that I founded. I have my own foundation that I organize, All That Jive New York City. I was a former New York City normal board member, and now trying to open my own cannabis brick and mortar. My idea, I've gone through a freaking 100 different ideas, and because the way our state is going, when I say state is going, like we haven't gotten to the tax part or anything with the application prices yet, which is why I'm probably going to be in Albany in a week or so, because I want to make sure they realize that those application fees shouldn't be high. We have to figure out a system to have us waived, a lot of them waived, because another person I know in the industry, she and I were talking about it, and I think I mentioned it here, but they have their money for their applications. They have it from the court fees they've charged us. They have it from the commissary money the people have put into the system in prison. They have it from the phone calls that were made in those prisons. They have it for the $5,000 that it costs to transport person from Rikers for one day, for whatever. They have the money, and so I will stop there. But I'm just very passionate. But when I say New York, we're also dealing with these mandates, which still affects the people that have always been affected by prohibition and just the war on being Black and brown people. And I don't know what that's going to look like when the market does open for us, because so many of our people in the state, our eviction memorandum expires today officially. So we have hundreds of thousands of eviction cases going forward. So, and a lot of that are the people who would be considered social equity applicants. So how are they going to get in if they don't even have a home? A lot of these people don't have jobs because they refuse to get mandated So, they won't have any resources if they try to get an application. So it's important for me and to let the governor know that they need to consider all these things when the Cannabis Control Board, when they consider all these things, when they're thinking about the fees and yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So, my name is Freedom. So, I'm the co-host of Blue Dream Radio, the People's Cannabis Podcast. My wife is the co-host. She can't be here today. She was here the first time. And we also, we talk about, on our podcast, we talk about not the clout, not the limelight of the cannabis industry, the glamour, the Hollywood. We don't do it for the clout. We do it for the culture, all that bullshit, even though they're doing it for clout. We just talk about the real issues that's happening in our communities, the things that our communities need. Like I said before, 1% of our community is going to make it. But what about the rest of us? What's going to happen with the rest of the people that need the money to go to school? So can we get some of that industry money to put some kids through college? Let's make that happen. And we also run Cimarron Farmstead. So we have a 3-acre farm here in Connecticut, and we grow hemp. We have an apiary, so we have bees. We just finished working outside with the bees, putting some covers because it's like -4 degrees right now. It feels like outside, so those bees need to be cozy. So we do hemp. We have our hemp license. That's the easiest thing right now in Connecticut to get. So I encourage people in Connecticut, any farmer, any grower, to start growing hemp because hemp is the future. I feel like I'm in a cult when I talk about hemp because hemp can do everything. Hemp, can create so many opportunities for our people. That is crazy. So I feel like I'm in a cult when I talk about hemp, and that's a different conversation for another time. And we grow vegetables. So we teach young people how to grow their own food. So we also run a nonprofit in the South Bronx, and that's how I come in the Bronx, in Manhattan, in New York City through my cannabis advocacies because a lot of our young people have been arrested. And when you get arrested, you can't get financial aid. So you can't go to college or get a record. And, everything just, boils down and you go through the school prison pipeline because that's some of the things that we organize against. Police-free schools, no metal detectors. I don't know. I know, my brother, that and my sister, everybody, that metal detectors in our schools, in public schools, is like mandatory right now because they feel like we're fucking animals. So they treat us like that. So I went through metal detectors as a high schooler. So I had to go through that trauma. There are still, every time I go through an airport, I don't like going through metal detectors, you know what I'm saying, because of high school. So we do a little bit of everything, and we work on all 3 states, New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks for joining us. We knew we were going to be on here, but I'm super stoked that we have a Cali person to rep. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw Blue Dream Radio. I met your partner back in the early clubhouse days. And so when I saw Blue Dream Radio go live with True Social Equity, I said, well, what's going on? I want to know what's happening. And I just jumped in the live and just said, Los Angeles is in here representing. My name is DJ Quest Coast, and I'm a community organizer and advocate. I have a production company called Elevate Culture Presents, and we produce the Leimert Park Juneteenth Festival in commemoration. This past year, we brought over 50,000 people out to Leimert Park on Juneteenth for the second year in a row. The year before that, we did less, like 10,000 people. But coming from music, cannabis was a natural integration because I'm a DJ. I've been consuming and trapping allegedly, as we said in Clubhouse, right? For many years, and so I was arrested for cannabis back in the day, and I qualified for social equity, and I went through the process of get pre-verified for equity here in Los Angeles, and that was a couple year process, and then I was fortunate enough to get my name picked in the hat as a top 100 recipient to apply for a retail license here in Los Angeles. And the beauty in that is that my license is in the same community plan in which I produce my festivals in. And so tremendous brand equity in the community, organizing, for mental health issues, for financial literacy, for youth and family development and programming or whatnot, just things that are on my heart. I'm also a certified holistic health coach. I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And so I look at cannabis as medicine. And I want our food to be that medicine. And there's so many uses. I think we're probably less than 5% use case for cannabis right now on the planet, when we know that, Ford had a Model T car back in the day that was built out of hemp. We know that hemp is, antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, it's fire retardant, resistant, anti-mold. I mean, it has so many use cases, as the brother Freedom was speaking on. And so, I really look at this as like an all day to continue doing good and profiting, where you can put people and profit together, and it's not like profit over people, because we're giving people more than what their money is purchasing. And so, I'm also the vice president of the Social Equity Owners and Workers Association, and we advocate and educate our members on cannabis policies and help them get their doors open. And so our members are social equity applicants. Our board is social equity applicants. We were started by social equity applicants. We're operated by social equity applicants. I often see a lot of folks speak on social equity, but they're consultants. They're not the actual equity.
They're not the equity, even though they kind of look like that.
Even though they kind of look like it, and it's no knock to anybody, because I often believe that just because you might not be pre-verified as social equity, that doesn't mean that, like you said, sis, you're not actually a social equity person. We find that up in like the Humboldt County area, the Mendocino County area, those small farmers and operators. They're white men and women, but they're social equity applicants, right? Because they went through this whole, traditional and legacy. They've been in it. And so it's not about color, but it is about color, because the war on drugs was totally about color, right? And I look at myself as a war on drug survivor, and I'm here to make sure that my brothers and sisters and my comrades have an opportunity to get in cannabis, whether they get licensing or they just get a brand on the shelf, or we help them with an ancillary business. This is a big, big industry. And outside of like Web3, I think this is one of the industries that is going to be one of the greatest wealth transfers in this time. We're all outliers. But we have to fight for it, because capitalism is a vicious, vicious game. And so together we are stronger,
Exactly.
No gloves off.